Okay,
Okay, actually, we are
we're,
now live.
we're live. Hi. So, hi,
Mm.
everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I have a very special guest whom I'm so honored to be connected with, and someone who is an absolute source for information on our topic for discussion for today's interview. I've got Dr. Rajen online with me today from Malaysia, which is my hometown, and he is the executive chairman and CEO of a highly respected publicly traded company. He's a pharmacist with a doctorate in holistic medicine. He's also an expert in the effects of carbohydrates on the metabolism, and he's an author and health columnist. And seriously, the accolades could go on and on, but we only have a short time together, and he's now on a mission to help the masses in more ways than just with their health. So good evening, Dr. Rajen, or in your case, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today and for taking time out of your very busy schedule to connect with me and our viewers. How are you doing?
Great. I'm doing good. Thank you very much.
Okay, so today we're just going to give our viewers, a little bit of the history of iGalen and on yourself. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. So the first one, is about, tell me about your vision and why you started iGalen.
Okay, now I I lost 3 uncles to heart attacks in a span of 40 days, and my father was very, very diabetic and was overweight, problems of cholesterol, and I realized that I had some problem with my genes, and I didn't realize at that point, but I realized now after I did my doctorate that you get bad genes, you can't do anything about it, but you can do something about it by the way you eat. And so food really is medicine. And when I did my doctorate, I realized that really human beings don't need carbohydrates. Eskimos live without carbohydrates, and the Maasai warriors live without carbohydrates. And so while there are good carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables, most of the carbohydrates that we see out there are really bad carbohydrates. They're mostly grains, and it really gets really ugly when you take the grains and you refine them into flour and starch and sugar. And much of the problems of the human race today are because of consumption of too much carbohydrates. Normally as bread in the Western world, or in Asia as noodles and rice. So all these empty calories go in the system, and they result in inflammation. That's not something spoken about very often these days, and it will be more and more in the future. And inflammation, chronic inflammation, long-term inflammation leads to cancer, heart disease, diabetes, even obesity. And so food has a very big role to play in the way we feel right at this moment, and certainly in the way we will be in years to come. And much of nutrition is somehow not talking about the kind of carbohydrates we take right now and how freely available they are, and how we take a bread or a bun or a noodle or rice, which is really sugar. So after much time, I came across 2 scientists in Florida who had developed a carbohydrate manager, something that helped the body manage its carbohydrates. And they've been nominated for the Nobel Prize. And I like what they had discovered. I work more and more with them. And over time, we became very good friends, and we decided to commercialize this. And I looked at ways in which we could get this product out, this carbohydrate manager out to the world. And I saw the multi-level business as the best way to do it. Empower people who will try the product, who will like it, and then they will go and talk to others. And so we set up this company called iGalen, which we want to bring this product, this idea, and the idea that you are really what you eat. And if you change what you eat, you can change the way you feel to the masses.
So then with this product, there's, let's say, well, if it's so good, why isn't it on, the shelves at a store,
Right.
And it's exactly what you said, is that when it's just sitting there,
Yeah.
No one's getting to it. There's nobody there talking about it. And, maybe
in all fairness, right? And I'm a pharmacist by training. A typical store, a typical health shop or a pharmacy store has got about 27,000 different stock keeping units. The poor pharmacist and his staff are inundated. They don't know what's in every bottle, and they're not the best people to talk about it, and they don't even have the time to talk about it. So a product like this, which requires people to engage and talk and share, is not going to work in that route. It's going to work very well in a multi-level route where people helping people.
So so can you tell our viewers, what is inflammation and how do we know we have it?
Okay, now there are two types of inflammation. One is acute inflammation. If you now knock your knee onto the door, your knee will swell, it'll pain, it'll hurt, it'll become immobile. That's called acute inflammation. And that's good because you will know not to knock your knee on the door the next time around, right? Now, on the other hand, when you allow the inflammation, which is not so acute, or what you call silent inflammation, to go on for a long time, then the body kind of gets used to it. It adapts to this highly inflamed environment, and all the effects of the same knee that was hot and red and painful and stiff happens to your cells as well, right? So this condition called silent inflammation then leads the cells to be inflamed and pain and highly in an inflamed state, and that results in many diseases today that we think are caused by silent inflammation. I mean, cancer, diabetes, obesity, even high cholesterol is linked to an inflamed system. And the inflammation is largely because of the overconsumption of sugar. Now, as much as sugar feels sweet on your tongue, sugar basically is a toxin. The body cannot store sugar anywhere in the body. It must be thrown out or burnt up. And since we don't always exercise anymore, you can't use up all that sugar, and you can't throw out so much via the urine. So all this sugar gets converted into fat. So your cholesterol goes up, your triglycerides go up, and you start putting on weight.
And so that's, for breakfast, people are starting their day with 4 slices of toast or pancake.
Well, a bowl of rice is the chemical equivalent of 10 teaspoons of sugar. Right?
Wow.
A toast, a slice of bread is the chemical equivalent of 3.5 teaspoons of sugar. Right? So right off at breakfast, you're probably taking 3 slices of bread. That's about 10 teaspoons of sugar, right? And maybe a jam, half a teaspoon of sugar, maybe a hot chocolate, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and right off at breakfast, you're taking about 15 teaspoons of sugar. Now, in the caveman days, a caveman on his whole day would probably take no more than 1 teaspoon of sugar. A whole apple, which is a good carbohydrate, is just 1 teaspoon of sugar, and you cannot eat more than maybe 2 apples at one go. But you could eat 4 or 5, 6 slices of bread at one go. You see the problem, right? Now, on the other hand, if for breakfast you decide to have fried eggs, right? You took 3 fried eggs for breakfast, right? The amount of sugar in that is 0. The amount of sugar in that is 0, and the egg will, over time, digest slowly, giving you a good, constant energy throughout the day.
So, how does Emulin work?
Okay, the carbohydrate manager I mentioned earlier, the one that was developed by these 2 scientists in Florida, is named as Emulin because it tends to help the body better manage the carbohydrates. There are 7 ways in which carbohydrates hit the body. In the mouth, when you consume them, you digest them in the intestine, right? Then as it becomes absorbed into sugar, as it enters in the muscles, by way of the insulin receptors, by way of the fat in every cell, by the way of the uptake of the sugar into the muscles, right? In all these areas, Emulin works to make the body more efficient in absorbing, managing those carbohydrates. So the moment you start taking this excess carbohydrates out of circulation, you feel better, you feel more alert, you feel more energy, And if your blood sugar is high, it tends to go down. And over time, especially if you are very clever in reducing refined carbohydrates and go into a low carbohydrate diet plan, then you start losing weight, and quite easily and quite nicely.
So what about for the people that don't eat any carbs? I have a lot of friends that say, well, I don't need it. I don't need this product. I don't need any carbs. I stay away from noodles. I don't eat any rice.
Yeah. First of all, they are doing the right thing. That's to stay away from carbohydrates, right? But on the other hand, a carbohydrate manager also manages the carbohydrates already in the body, right? So you will find that you have more energy, for example. You'll find you sleep better because your blood sugar is more stable, so you have a much deeper sleep at night. You find you move your bowels better because once you remove from your gut bacteria, you remove all these excess carbohydrates there in the system, the bacteria are much better. We call them even the third brain, the gut bacteria, and they are affected positively because there's not a lot of sugar there, and you have much easier bowel movement as well. So overall, you're going to feel better.
Yeah, and so how does something work so quickly? I mean, even my first day, my second day, and for sure my third day, I noticed everything right away. And I've had some friends that said I noticed it right after I took even the one swivel.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we have excess carbs in the system, there's excess sugar in the system, there's excess glycogen in the liver, there's even excess fats floating around because we ate so much carbs. We feel very sluggish, we feel very tired, and we feel somewhat lazy. So the moment a carb manager comes in, it starts removing all this from the system, from the blood, and immediately you feel better. You feel more alert, you sleep better, you got more energy. Normally within hours, but I would say within 2 days.
And how do you suggest people, if they're first time users, would you do the 9-day, metabolic reset and cut out carbs?
Yeah. Well, I'm now working, my team here is working on a 6-day metabolic reset. Okay. I will put it out on the website soon. But yes, over a 6-day period, you will lose about 1 to 2 pounds. More importantly, you will get a lot more energy. But over a 6-day period, if we were starting to look at your blood markers, they all start improving, sometimes quite significantly. What we're doing basically is we are detoxing ourselves of carbohydrates, excess carbohydrates. And any detox program feels good. You feel alert, you feel more energy, you sleep better. But once you detox yourself with carbohydrates, we have a protein drink with Emulin in it that kind of fortifies the system. So you detox and then you fortify.
So, and I've come across some people that say, well, I'm not cutting out carbs. I need carbs. My body needs carbs, and I'm not the expert here in giving them the answer of why their body, is craving that. But how would you respond to that?
Okay. Now, there are about 1 in every 4 people who are very carb sensitive, right? They are sensitive to carbs. But, just like an alcoholic who is sensitive to alcohol, who then needs more alcohol, they need more carbs. So they're on this constant search for carbs. They like bread, they like noodles, they like sweet stuff. They even like the smell of baking bread. The same way as an alcoholic looks for alcohol, or nicotine addict looks for nicotine, right? Now, a long time ago, there was a book by a husband and wife team called The Carbohydrate Addict. And basically, most of us are addicted to carbohydrates. An addict is somebody who knows that it's not good for him, and yet he goes looking for it. And so if you tell somebody who's carb addicted or carb sensitive, don't eat carbs, they will say that I cannot live without carbs. I need carbs. And my advice to them is, like any other addict, you just got to go cold turkey for 2 or 3 days and see the difference. You will only know the difference once you quit that carb for 3 days. You let your body shut down and re-look at a new energy source, which is normally fat and protein.
And also too with the Emulin Plus, like, it's not to say, okay, because I'm taking this, now I can eat, a loaf of bread.
No. I never ever encourage people to be reckless. This is not some panacea that you can take this and then go ahead and do all the wrong things. You need to understand that what you put in your mouth is sacred. They say the body is a temple of God, right? And what you put in your mouth is the only way you communicate with the body. It's the only way you communicate with the cells, and it's the only way you communicate with your genes and your DNA. So what you put in your mouth is really very, very sacred. So and the only times you have no control on that is when you're a baby being breastfed or bottle fed, and when you're about to die being tube fed.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, what you put in your mouth is entirely up to you. You cannot say, oops, I accidentally ate the chocolate cake. It won't happen, right? You got to consciously decide that that chocolate cake goes into your mouth. So if you realize that certain foods are not good for you, they may be good for the tongue, they taste great, good for the nose, they smell great, but not good for you, then you need to cut this down, right? You need to take, I tell people, go wherever you can, go rice less. When you cannot, go rice less, right? So when you can, avoid rice completely. When you cannot, take half the amount or a third of the amount.
Right.
Right. Same for bread, same for noodles, same for bagels, same for cakes.
So the really mindset and emotional with food and everything for people.
Yes, yes. I mean, the days when we eat when we are hungry are over. Today we eat when we are bored, we eat when we are angry, we eat when we're watching TV, we eat because others are eating. And therefore the purpose of eating, which is to feed our body nutrients, has been lost.
Right.
So it's all about pleasure, and it's about eating what you don't want to eat. It's about indulgence, and it's about knowing that the food is not good for you, like ice cream, and still eating it. I mean, there's no rational reason why ice cream sales should be going up every year, but they are.
Mm-hmm. So I saw in the Emulin video with Dr. Joe Aarons that they wanted to put it into chips and, Betty Crocker.
Yeah.
Is that still happening, or what?
Well, we are meeting up. We're meeting up next week, week after next in Florida. We're talking about this and talking to some big companies. I think their vision is to give this to as many people as possible, and that will happen anyway. But I believe that eventually you will need to take about 250 milligrams a day, and the best way to take it is to take it in a capsule. And we sell that as a capsule.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love how it's so convenient, because I think
Yes.
Food, or people's diets is solely based on convenience. And, I'm guilty of that too sometimes. If I have to get to a meeting and I haven't had dinner and I wasn't able to bring, my meal prepped food, but also, there's no, taking it at this time, or, having a 90-minute workout video to do and then making a shake and then all this. So I really like how it's very convenient and simple and easy to do. And
yeah, we want it to slip into your life very quietly, not be a hindrance or to shackle you down somehow.
And I loved it. Like, I felt it right away. I had friends that tried it that felt it right away, even after just one chewable. And I know we're not getting the chewables in Canada, so it'll be the pills, which is good, because some, the chewables sometimes, it's
I think you got the capsules we sent you, right?
Yeah, no, I love it. Actually, I have them. Also too, so pregnant women.
Okay. Thank you for asking that. That's a great question. Now, lots of times, women who are pregnant tend to have what we call gestational diabetes. They become diabetic while they're pregnant, and that's not very good for them, but definitely not good for the baby. And we tend to give them drugs.
How does that happen? Like, how does that happen when they're pregnant?
Well, it's a mixture of their genetic predisposition, a mixed their state of metabolism. If they're obese, they're more likely to become to have gestational diabetes. Also, their genes, if they are likely to become diabetic in the later years, they're likely to have gestational diabetes. And also the hormones. As you know, in pregnancy, all the hormones are reorganizing, restructuring, and so sometimes you may have an issue with the insulin and you become diabetic. Now, obviously no woman wants to take a drug when she's pregnant, right, or breastfeeding. But because diabetes is such a big problem for them, for the mother and the baby, doctors tend to give you drugs, especially a drug called metformin. But I would suggest that people who are having gestational diabetes try Emulin first. It's all natural. Won't hurt the mother, it won't hurt the baby, right? And similarly, when they are breastfeeding and they took Emulin, before they take drugs, eventually if it doesn't control, they must take drugs. But taking Emulin as the first line makes a lot of sense because it's all natural. It's got no side effects.
And children can take it.
Oh, absolutely. Both my kids take it because today kids are being inundated with carbohydrates, be it sugar, be it breads, be it noodles, be it pizza, pasta. And many of the children today are what you call carbohydrate addicts. They are very addicted to carbohydrates. You have a lot of hyperactivity in children. You've got learning disorders, learning disabilities because children can't focus because there's so much sugar in the system, there's so much sugar in their brain, they cannot focus. So if you put them on Emulin, like my two kids, then you get them more energetic, more focused, more easy to manage.
So there's
no side effects. No side effects in children.
I love it, and that was what made me know that this company was right for me, was because all the other companies out there, you can't take their formula while you're pregnant. So to me, I think, well, if you can't take it while you're pregnant, then what are you putting into your body, right?
That's right. No, I think we have a very simple attitude. Emulin is made of the skin of a grape, of the skin of the onion, and green coffee, not coffee. Yeah, so it's caffeine free. And those things any woman can take when she's pregnant. No doctor will tell somebody who's pregnant, don't take grapes, or don't take onions, or don't take green coffee. So it's completely safe.
So then with the green coffee part, because some people say, well, if it gives you energy, how do I sleep at night?
Okay. Now it's interesting because it's not energy by a stimulant like coffee or
a monster drink.
Yeah. This is really by giving you energy by better managing your metabolism. So if you have good energy, which means you're very alert when you're awake, but really tired at night, so you'll go ahead and have deep sleep. It's the opposite of it.
No, I like it. I know maybe you won't be able to, tell us everything, but can you give us some hints on, some of your future products that you'll be coming out with?
Sure. The next one we're coming out with is a protein drink, which I think would be great because it's a meal replacement. It's a high quality pea protein. And following that, we are working now on a formula for the brain because the human brain was never really happy to take a lot of sugar. It prefers to take fats. But today, because we eat so many carbohydrates, our brains are inundated with sugar. And with that, we have a lot of issues of, especially in older age, of dementia, Alzheimer's, and all these things. And these two scientists working in Florida have come up with a formula that actually reduces the amount of sugar in the brain itself. And then the brain thinks more clearly, and actually they've shown data the brain actually starts healing.
That's amazing.
So that's coming in the pipeline.
That's amazing. So
carb manager for the brain, yeah.
So so just another thing about Malaysia, when you had your launch, that was a success. So how's that? It's been about a year, and how's that been out there for you guys?
Well, it's been great. We're a year now coming a year in November, but we're a year into business. A lot of change. It's a startup. You learn as you get the business going. And now we're looking forward to a launch in the States, early next year in Canada, in North America, and the States with you. And we want to link up with whatever that's happening in Malaysia to what's happening in North America.
Yeah, I think it's, global, this epidemic of, the diseases and obesity, and you see it everywhere. And I've had to battle with my own kind of gut as I got older. I'm nearing into my 50s, and, I have that belly, and I think, oh, well, it's because I've had a child, but it's not. Like,
obviously, as we all get older, metabolism slows down, and that's nature's way of protecting us because as we grow older, we need less energy. So in the days of the caveman, you need to work less hard to go look for food so you could live longer. Today, we don't need to work hard to get food. So obviously, we all, as we get to our middle ages, we start growing in the middle, right? Nobody likes that. And if you, again, come back to managing your portions of food and go low carbohydrate, you'll be able to control that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as we get older, we must get wiser and educate ourselves and get the right information and be proactive. So,
Right.
so there's a fly. We're still kind of summer here, but you know, we're heading into almost time up here. So, if there was one piece of advice that you would give it to our audience tonight, what would it be?
There are only 3 kinds of food that cause inflammation: sugar, starch, and trans fatty acid. As far as possible, avoid them in your life.
So just say no to the dessert tray, walk past the ice cream.
Well, you know, even if you don't say no, if you say yes, make it a very soft yes, take a little bit, enjoy it, you know, indulge, eat it slowly, enjoy it if you have to. But otherwise, where possible, say no. Yes. Say no to starch, say no to sugar, say no to trans fatty acids.
I mean, definitely is a staple, right? I mean, sometimes, you know, you hear people just say, oh, just go ahead. You only live once. And I always say, well, you only die once too. So how do you want to go, right? And
exactly. How do you want to go? I mean, here's the thing, right? Your tongue is saying yes, right? But the rest of the body is saying no. I don't want that. It's going to work for hours and hours just to get rid of it. You know, if you had a piece of cake or if you had a huge helping of dessert, right? It will take your body hours to clear all that. It'll take your liver hours to clear all that from the system. And that's assuming you go out there and make a run or go to the gym and burn it out, and most of us don't. You know, so it really creates a metabolic mess after a meal like that.
But even if you run, it doesn't, like, I see people do that all the time where they just eat everything and they think, well, I'm going to go work out later, but it's affecting your body on a cellular level.
Yes, correct. Deep cellular level, you know, deep cellular level. And again, you know, especially if you keep doing it every day, you know, if you did it as an indulgent once a month or twice a month or even once a weekend, that's fine. But we are starting breakfast with 10, 15 teaspoons of sugar. You know?
Oh my gosh, I know.
Dinner with maybe another 10, 20 teaspoons of sugar. So on an average day, at least in Malaysia, in Asia, an average Asian takes 50 teaspoons of sugar. His ancestor caveman probably had 1 or 2. You know,
when
so
I read in one of your articles too, you know, people wouldn't actually physically take 15 teaspoons of sugar, but they're doing it indirectly with these foods, right? So, you know, I think people actually they don't process it that way, right? Because it's working.
They don't understand that bread is sugar, rice is sugar, starch is sugar, pasta is sugar, noodles are sugar. They need to understand that. That's my message.
You know, and so I just feel like sometimes people, you know, they don't care until they have to care, and then usually that's too late
and too painful.
And too painful. And I just had, you know, a huge scare with my mom, and it's, you know, a few people that I've talked to, they say, well, I need to eat, you know, especially now with what's happening in Alberta, we're going through a recession, so people are looking for food that's filling, that are fillers, and it's bread and pasta, and you go to the food bank and we're donating.
You know, yes and no. I think eggs are pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. They're really nutritious. They're very nourishing. You know, and you can pick up eggs anywhere, anytime. You know, go to 7-Eleven, you pick up eggs, right? So, to eat the right food, even in a recession, is not difficult. You can pick up canned tuna, canned sardines. You can pick up yogurt. You can pick up cheese. They're all sources of very good protein, and they're not expensive.
Is it because our bodies are so used to it that we just think that, you know, that's
we just need to break a pattern which has been a lifetime of programming. That's not easy, I know.
Exactly. Very hard to uncondition what we've been conditioned.
That's right, yes.
And even with the Canadian food guide too, right? Like, I look back at that, I'm like, I wouldn't even eat half the stuff that they have on there.
Well, you know, the governments tend to promote a low-fat approach, right? And we think fat is bad, so we've eaten low-fat cheese, low-fat dairy, low-fat milk, right? And we avoid eggs and we avoid meat. And guess what? In the last 30 years, we got fatter.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so they call it a big fat lie.
That's like when we go grocery shopping, you know, I was with a girlfriend the other day and she's like, oh, she's picking everything with the blue label. It's the
Right.
blue. And I said, okay, let's compare. Okay, let's read. I mean, and I don't, you know, for me, I don't read the calories or anything. It's the ingredients. If it starts with anything white, I don't want it. And usually you can be shopping in the aisles anyways, in between the aisles. But, you know, it didn't really have much of a difference except for the blue label, you know? So it's false advertising.
Yes, I know. And, you know, most people we're not savvy enough, so we don't know. And I always tell people, you know, very simple, whatever that you're eating today, you should ask yourself, if I was a caveman or a cavewoman, could I eat it? And the answer to that is, if you could ask yourself, if it was raw, could you eat it, right? And you could eat meat raw. It's not, you don't look at it as a pleasure experience. You could eat fish raw, such sushi, right? You could eat eggs raw. You could eat vegetables raw. You could eat fruits raw. You cannot eat rice raw. You cannot eat meat raw. So really, you don't have an enzyme system to digest them. And that's after 3.4 million years of evolution. So they were not meant to be eaten. And 10,000 years ago, before we developed the fire as a way to cook, all these foods were not edible. They were not meant to be eaten. So today, 80% of our calories are coming from foods not meant to be eaten. How can you expect to be healthy?
You know, I was guilty of that when my son was growing up. It was the fruit roll-ups and all the treats and everything. And I see that in my friends' cupboards with their kids. And I said, do you eat this stuff? No, I would never eat it. But they're feeding it to their kids.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
it's conditioning and training right from the beginning, right? You know, when your kids are young, but it's so much peer pressure too.
It's a lot of peer pressure, yes.
Especially in school, right? What did your mom pack for you in your lunchbox, right?
Yeah. And, you know, my children have the same pressure in school today. Yeah, it's a big challenge.
So I just want to thank you so much. I know you're really busy and we're about that time and I could talk to you forever. And I'm so happy that we've connected. I'm so on board with you and your vision. And I love your energy and your dedication and your devotion to truly serving others. You know, we're so blessed to have someone like you that's ambitious and that, you know, puts himself out there to help people. And I think that's really commendable of you. And I'm excited to launch in Canada. We are so excited. There's, you know, people are just waiting. Well, how can I sign up? How can I get a bottle? You know, so yeah, I think definitely this is a way to help the masses.
Yes, and we would like to work with you on that, Rina. Let's make the world a better place, one meal at a time.
No, me too. And I want to thank our viewers for watching as well, everybody that tuned in. I'm going to share all the social links at the bottom, you know, information on our website and how to connect with me and whatever else they need. And you're just so amazing to even, you know, put your time out there and give your time. You know, I think being service of others, right? And just having you so accessible, and you're so busy, and sometimes when you disappear, I know you're busy, but you know, it's really an honor to be working with you and your team of, you know.
The same here, Rina. Thank you. We are honored to be working with you.
Thank you. Just you guys are world class, and you know what, this is gonna explode, and that's my mission too, is just to help everybody, and especially with this opportunity, it's, you know, not only are we helping people with their health, you know, it's lifestyle and family and personal development and everything, because there's so many different moving parts and components to a healthy, successful lifestyle, and it begins with ourselves and our health and taking care of our temples, so that we do the same for our families. So I really appreciate your time, and yeah, I'm excited for the future.
Thank you, Rina. Let's reconnect again, yeah?
Yeah, you know what, we'll do more of these. I will do some different series on specific topics, and then this is a very nice intro for everybody, and to have you here live yourself, so that was awesome. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.